Mubadala Development Corporation is an 8-year-old, 24 billion investment corporation headquartered here in Abu Dhabi. The company is owned by the government of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. Here with me to talk to us about Mubadala and the development in Abu Dhabi is Mubadala's Chief Financial Officer, Carlos Obeid. He is an INSEAD alum, and since 2004, when he joined the company, he has been involved in the growth and development of the company. Carlos, it's great to have you here, and welcome back to INSEAD.
Thank you.
Mubadala was set up in 2002 by the government as a way to facilitate the development and diversification of the economy here in Abu Dhabi. As an investment organization, you are making a lot of commitments in different companies and projects. But one of the interesting things of Mubadala is that you are trying to achieve both financial results as well as social results in terms of the development of the local economy. As a Chief Financial Officer, can you share with us how do you ensure the optimal balance between the achievement of the financial results and the social results in the way you analyze investment opportunities?
Certainly. I think maybe the way to start is to look at the mandate of Mubadala. I mean, obviously, the government of Abu Dhabi and the UAE in general have a stated goal of diversifying the economy away from the hydrocarbon reliance. And Mubadala has a mandate of helping in the implementation of that plan of getting into the diversification. So what we do is essentially two things. We do business development activities and we do investment activities. By business development, what we do is we create businesses from scratch. So we identify opportunities, we carry out feasibility studies, we bring in partners with us, and we create companies in the UAE that will attack this particular sector or business activity. When we do investments, we take equity positions in existing companies with the aim of helping them or contributing to their growth and development and in the generation of additional value and creating more activities in that sector, and eventually to link them with other existing activities that we may have or other investment that we may have. So the primary concern that we have in doing either this business development activity or this investment activity is always the commercial return, because we are an investment company. We are set up as a company, and therefore we need to produce a certain return on the capital that is being provided to us by our shareholder, in this case the government of Abu Dhabi. So our primary concern is always to look at the return. So we need to ensure that every investment idea that we have stand on its own feet from a return perspective, from a profitability perspective. And what we do in that space is that we actually benchmark our returns against other in this particular sector. So our first and foremost target is always to ensure that we have a return that is commensurate with the risks that we are taking in that particular industry, in that particular activity. The second side that we look at is obviously the socio-economic return. So the things that we look at in that particular criteria are things like how much does this particular investment or business idea contribute to the diversification of the economy? How well does it fit with the sectors that we have? How well does it integrate with the other areas that we have? How does it play from a human resource perspective in terms of developing local talents and developing local leadership? How much does it add from a IP perspective or technological perspective to what exists already in the market? There aren't really hard and fast rules about or specified criteria on that, because sometimes we see that very small investments can have a disproportionate socio-economic return, and I'll give you an example of that. A few years ago, for example, in the healthcare sector, we identified that diabetes is a very prevalent ailment that is in the UAE population. About 25 or more % of the population suffers from that, and diabetes care has not been really at the foremost of the agenda of the authorities here. So what we have done is we've teamed up with the Imperial College of London to create a center of excellence in diabetes research, in diabetes treatment and management. And whilst this was a very small investment for us, it's in the order of a few $million, but the social impact of that is disproportionate in relation to that. Obviously, the center today is a very highly profitable activity. We see the center is operating at beyond capacity, and we're about to open an extension of that center, given the patient flow that we see in there. So here again, it's an example of where a small investment has a disproportionate socioeconomic return, but yet is making a good and profitable return for us.
Carlos, over the last 10 years or so, there has been a lot of money in the investment community, things like investment funds, private equity, all of those chasing investment opportunities. What do you think is your competitive advantage, and how do you create value as an owner of a company or as an investor of a project relative to other potential investors?
The way that Mubadala operates is very unique in the sense that we are not just an investor. We are very much a hands-on investor in the sense that we sometimes participate in operations. So we do second personnel, for example, to the companies that we own in various responsibility positions. So we may have CEOs, CFOs, or marketing personnel being placed in those companies, because we believe that this linkage helps them in a number of ways. First of all, it maintains the link with Mubadala, whom we believe have a network of companies and activities that they can benefit from. We actively manage the synergies between companies. So, for example, when we create an aluminum cluster or an aerospace cluster, we try to make sure that the companies in those clusters are actually somehow linked in the way that they carry out their activity and they do business, but also are linked to other potential clusters that we have. So examples of that, in the aluminum sector, for example, we are using our logistics companies in terms of carrying alumina and things to the side. We're using some of our renewable energies activities in making sure that we do carbon capture and storage, which furthered our green credentials, if you want. So we try to create those linkages and those synergies across not only the same cluster, but across different clusters, which generates value for both these companies and for Mubadala as a whole.
In fact, on your role as Chief Financial Officer, you are responsible for the financial, strategic, and administrative support services for the organization. So you are very much involved on the creation of those synergies. Can you tell us how you balance the pressures between centralization and decentralization in these companies? I mean, how do you decide what things should be devolved to the companies, what things should be done centrally?
It's a very complex question to reply to, and it is probably one of the biggest headaches that we have in Mubadala, is finding the right balance between what needs to be done on a centralized basis and what needs to be done on a decentralized basis. Obviously, the primary aim, and for businesses to be successful, you need to give them enough autonomy and enough control over their own destiny in order to be successful, so that because they are closest to the business and they need to make decisions very quickly. On the other hand, in order for you to be able to realize some of those synergies and benefit, you need to be able to pilot and guide these things. So what we are doing right now, and what the orientation that we're taking, is that we're trying to identify the areas where it's absolutely critical for the organization to either do it ourselves, or control in some way or other, or coordinate or be informed about. So if you classify them into these four categories, and these can be different from function to function. So when you look, for example, at financing, we believe that we have a competitive advantage at the corporate, and therefore a lot of the financing activities that take place even at the individual company level will most likely be done by our team that sits at corporate. It gets sometimes sent out into these these companies or these organizations, but then once the activity is done, they return and they get deployed elsewhere. And that helps us from a number of ways. Similarly, for example, the legal activities and the legal and risk management activities can tend to be more centralized and decentralized. On the other hand, other activities like support services or HR or others will tend to be more decentralized, because that's where you need to be more responsive to the individual company's needs and requirements, but there is some form of oversight and coordination that takes place. On the business strategy side, that's also one of the core activities that we consider, and therefore all the business planning is more or less coordinated and centralized at corporate, because we need to ensure that we're not duplicating investments, we're not wasting opportunities, or we're not overseeing in the sense of not investing in opportunities that may be available, or in occupying spaces that may be there. So that's part of the functions that we do, and these are kind of the core processes that I think a successful organization would need to develop if it were to become successful in what we're trying to achieve.
One important theme of the Abu Dhabi vision for 2030 is the development of talent and the talent for Abu Dhabi to become an educational and talent hub for the region. What role does Mubadala play on that vision?
I mean, as you correctly point out, it is one of the aims of Abu Dhabi to become a hub and to be able to grow and nurture the talent for the future business leaders in the UAE, and to be a center for intellectual property and the creation of intellectual properties. So there are a number of initiatives that Mubadala or some of the companies that relate to Mubadala are undertaking in order to help that. These can span a number of things. On the, let's say, infrastructure side, we are helping the government in creating the infrastructure and the facilities that help in education. So we are building, for example, universities and providing them to the government, of course, at a commercial return. We're also involved with leading educational institutions like INSEAD or like the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in doing collaborative research and doing activities that support the development of intellectual capital in the areas that are of relevance or of interest to us. So, for example, Masdar, which is one of our flagship companies that is a pioneer in the world on the renewable side, has an agreement with MIT to do research in the renewable sector, and the institute, the Masdar Institute, which will focus on that activity, started in September of this year to basically offer training programs and courses in renewable energies. So obviously this is something that we see with a very positive eye, and we consider as one of the building blocks in developing the economy of Abu Dhabi and of the UAE to become more of a knowledge economy and to build the talent for the future.
Continuing on the theme of education, you are one of our most successful alumni here in the Middle East. Could you comment on how your INSEAD education influenced your career and your current role?
Maybe a little bit of background. Obviously, my initial education was in engineering, and at a relatively early stage, I decided that maybe I needed to broaden my horizon beyond the technical know-how, and an MBA for me was a very serious option to pursue in order for me to achieve that objective. What attracted me to INSEAD was the multicultural aspect, and the fact that being in Europe at the time, because I attended the MBA at the Fontainebleau campus, being in Europe and with that proximity, if you want, of the multicultural aspect of Europe were main attraction elements for me. And I think these have played well in my future career, because in the UAE and in particular, there is a very multicultural community, and there are businesses from all over the world. The UAE sits at the center of a very active, if you want, crossroads between the east and the west, between north and south, and this kind of multicultural aspect is key for the success. So I think from that perspective, the INSEAD education has been quite good, both in terms of the broadness of the coverage that we had, but also in terms of being culturally sensitive and working with across culture and across industries.
In fact, INSEAD has just opened a section of its top-ranked executive MBA here in Abu Dhabi. We just started the first class, and as you saw them, we have a very diverse group. I mean, we have people from the Middle East, the Levant, parts of Africa, the subcontinent, people even flying from Europe. As someone who has experience both at INSEAD and also in the region, in the economic development of the region, what would you like to see our current participants learning at INSEAD today?
I mean, when you look at the requirements in this region, I mean, obviously this is an emerging region and an emerging economy, and companies like Mubadala are also emerging companies, and you'll see a number of those or such companies being created and developed. So that puts a lot of demand on talent that is multifunctional and culturally sensitive. So I would say that if INSEAD wants to develop, and if candidates coming to INSEAD want to consider the region as an opportunity for them, the areas that they need to focus on and learn and be involved in are things like entrepreneurship, because obviously a lot of these companies are being created. They face the challenges of growing companies, and therefore understanding the challenges that entrepreneurs face and companies in their early stages face is absolutely key in order to be successful. The second one is leadership and leadership development, because again, being a young company and the young country and the young economy, there is a tremendous demand on leaders and the ability to mobilize resources and talent from across different parts of the world and across different functions, both vertically and horizontally, in order to achieve certain objectives. So leadership plays a very significant role in that. And obviously, given the nature of the country and of the economies here, being culturally sensitive and having the multicultural aspect is one of the key success factors as well. So if you focus on these three elements, I think one would have a very strong foundation to be successful.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Thank you for your insights on Mubadala and on the development in Abu Dhabi, and very especially for your support of INSEAD.
Thank you very much. Thank you.